Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to the show, First Contact Radio. Josh Poet with you here. Alright, so we're in a new month, second day into a new month, lots of activity going on. You know what's going on in the world. I know you're aware of the issues and problems. We've been talking about them every day. So let's start off with our dream spell, kind of catch us up to speed with today's date. Today is called a red magnetic skywalker, which means we're at the beginning of a new wave spell. Red magnetic skywalker, guided by the skywalker. The red color is the color of initiation. The magnetic tone is tone number 1. It's called the magnetic tone of purpose. And then the guide for the kin for today is the skywalker. It's all about exploration, space. It's also the guide for today. The phrase is I unify in order to explore, attracting wakefulness. I seal the output of space with the magnetic tone of purpose. I am guided by my own power doubled. And on the Gregorian calendar, it is Wednesday, November 2nd, 2011. So Dirk Bradshaw is not with us today. I thought we would review some things that we did last week because we don't really want to get too far away from these things. So let's start off with this graphic right here. This is the preamble to the Constitution of the United States. We talked about it last week. If you missed the show, go back and listen. We played the Constitution, the Declaration, the Bill of Rights, and we went over all of this information. We even had videos up there of a number of young children ages 2 to 6 that were reciting the preamble. So if little kids can know it, there's no reason or excuse why you adults cannot know it as well. So here we go. This is the preamble to our Constitution of the United States. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Now, this is very important that you know this. Why is it so important? Because if you don't understand what your rights are, then they can be taken away from you, because you won't even know what's being taken away. And in many cases, unfortunately, throughout this country, a lot of people don't know what their rights are. They don't understand. So when things go down in society and police officers are abusing their power, when politicians are abusing their rights and their power, if people don't understand what they're abusing, then they just get away with it. But you have rights. You have the rights to free speech. You have the right to carry a gun and have a militia. You have a right not to be searched without any unwarranted reason to do so. You have a right not to have some military personnel in your home. On and on. There's basic rights that we have, and these rights are getting violated all the time. When you go to the airport and you have TSA agents going through your belongings, they're violating your constitutional rights. If a police officer pulls you over and searches your car without any real reason for doing so, just because he feels that it's suspicious, he's violating your rights. If someone decides they want to come and search your home, violation of your rights. If you're like you saw Alex Jones on the show, he was crossing over, a checkpoint in Texas, and they wanted to come into his mobile home, a violation of his rights. He didn't allow them in. When you see the police officers arresting protesters out on the streets in Oakland, in New York, and in these various places, they're violating their constitutional rights. There are many, many violations which are taking place, and it seems that it has become very easy for these certain individuals to step right over these rights, to not pay any attention to them at all, and that seems kind of weird, because the Founding Fathers really went to great lengths to make sure that these were part of our understanding of life, part of our documents that we used to keep us on the straight and narrow. And here we are all these years later, and we're just getting abused left and right. If the Founding Fathers were here, I'm sure they'd be turning over in their graves about what's going on in this country, why people aren't listening. One of the things that the Founding Fathers talked about is the bank being involved with politics. They didn't think it was a very good idea. There were warnings from several of the presidents, Founding Fathers, and then down the road. Along came the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve Act was passed in 1913, and, well, that changed a lot of things, because this wasn't what the Founding Fathers had intended. Now here we are, years later, and we have a presidential candidate who was very much involved in the Federal Reserve. This completely goes against what the Founding Fathers talked about. Yet there are actually individuals in this country who are standing up for Herman Cain because they think he might be a good president. Are these people not paying attention? Did they not listen to what the Founding Fathers said? Apparently not. And it's so easy to forget about these important rules. But the reason that they said these things was to keep us from hurting ourselves. Because the biggest enemy there is, not only in the United States but around the world, is ourselves. People are their own worst enemy. We accept the lies that are going on in the world, even though we know there's truths. We accept things like murder, even though the spiritual books that we have say we shouldn't kill each other. We accept and allow all of these sins and these problems into our lives, and we could very easily keep them out. Now, why do we do this? Why do we do this? Take a moment to think about that. Why do we allow these things into our lives? It's because we're conditioned that way. When you turn on your television set, that television set in your home has become like a magic box to put out information, and people just watch it, and then they just kind of go along willy-nilly without even thinking about what it is, because the magic box told them something. How many of you know people that watch Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, and then when the show is over they will just repeat exactly what they heard, and they will take it verbatim, even though information on those news sources are shown to be doctored, faulty, misinformed? People will still listen to it over and over and over again. None of that makes sense. You see, we have to think for ourselves. Tim Leary said, "Think for ourselves." That was one of his phrases. And because of that, probably other reasons as well, but one of the things that made him public enemy number one was because of that very instance. He challenged people to think for themselves. The governments, the politicians, the leaders of the world do not want you to think for yourself, because if you think for yourself, you might actually figure out that what they're doing is corrupt, that they are walking all over your rights. No matter if you live here in the United States or around the world, you have rights, right as a citizen of the planet Earth. Not under some sort of political leadership or rulership or anything of that nature. You have rights because you are a child of God upon this planet. And that's all the right that you need. And then the rules and structures that we put in place should support those rights. But if they take them out of the mix, then something's wrong. Here in the United States, one of the sad truths that seems to be going on is that God is taken out of everything these days. God is just disallowed, and I don't understand why that is. It certainly is not very helpful to remove the spiritual aspect of life that was the creator of all things. And there seems to be a trend with individuals wanting to make fun of the spiritual that is out there. One of the things that is a very good point lately is the NFL. You've got a guy named Tim Tebow. He's a religious person. He talks about God quite a bit. When he gets on his knee and pray, he's doing a prayer. But for some reason, there are players who decided to mock that. So in the games that go on, you see a couple of players that will get on their knees and they'll mock the way that he was doing it. Why? They're mocking him doing a prayer. What he's doing is a really good thing. He's taking a moment to give honor to the great Creator. There's no reason that anybody should make fun of that. Whether he's a football player or not, nobody should make fun of somebody because of their religious practices, because of their spiritual beliefs. And if that's going on, if somebody can so easily dismiss the idea of God and spirituality and make fun of it, well, then there's a problem. And certainly here in the United States, that's a big problem because God is being removed from all sorts of instances. We need to pay attention to that, folks. We need to understand what our rights are as human beings. We need to understand where we came from, and we need to have the courage and strength to be able to walk away when we know something is not in sync with those truths. And that's it. Now, I want to bring your attention to this other clip right here. This is from Gandhi. And this is very applicable to what's going on in the world. First they laugh at you. First they ignore you. Then they laugh at you. Then they fight you. Then you win. And doesn't this seem to be what's going on in the world? With all of the truths that are available out there, you have media agencies, politicians, ignoring the basic information that's out there, ignoring the truths that are out there, ignoring the people that are bringing the truths and information. They laugh at them. And then they want to cause wars and fight. But eventually, through all of this, we win. And that's how it's going to be, friends, because there are many, many, many more people in the world. We just went over the 7 billion mark just the other day. So, of that 7 billion, you know the small percentage is actually politicians and leaders? Very small. Doesn't even make up a billion. Not even 1/7. You take a small percentage, let's see. I'd say here in the United States there's 300 million people. There's probably about, let's say a safe estimate, actually there's like 307 million people. Safe estimate would say, let's say there's 7 million of those individuals make up the politicians and the leaders. That's still 300 million versus 7 million. What's a bigger number? 300 million. Yet for some reason, here in the United States, we've allowed those 7 million people to tell the 300 million what to do, to make the rules, to have them play the game that they want them to play. They tell them the things they want them to hear, and yet the 300 million could easily dictate what the 7 million should do. But because the game is set up and there's these things called money, which has fooled people into thinking that's a valuable resource, we have these problems. We don't pay attention, so we allow ourselves to be led along like sheep. You've heard the phrase, sheep being led to slaughter. Well, unfortunately, that seems to be what's going on over and over and over again. So the message is we just need to stand up. We need to think for ourselves. We need to pay attention, because if we don't pay attention, if we don't keep the leaders and the politicians, the officers in check, then they're just going to continue to run rampant, and they're going to run right over you and your rights, no matter where you are in this world. Remember, you're a child of God. That is your right, and that is your permission. Pay attention to the rules of the land, but understand that truth needs to be honored, not allowed to be turned into a lie. And we need to understand what God wants from us, because the human mind, the politicians, and those who are creating, it's become corrupted, and it needs to change. And the only way it's going to change is if we do something about it. Okay? So there you go. That's my little speech for the moment. I'm going to jump to the song here. It's time for us to wake up.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. So this is the UFO News for today. Our first sighting comes to us from the UK. All right, here we go. Excuse me, from Canada. My fault. Here we go. All right. All right, what you got there is your strange looking object up there. Now, we've seen these kind of objects in the sky. This is almost, can't really tell if it's cylindrical. I mean, there we go. We got the sphere right there. So when it was moving, obviously, it's creating some sort of a blur. But we've seen this one plenty of times to understand that that's one of the classic type of things we're seeing these days. You know, you used to see the classic UFO, the bell-shaped UFO. That was real popular for a while. Now, the real popular one seems to be the orbs. The orbs in the sky. Now, here's our next report. Comes to us, latest-UFO-sightings.net. UFOs recorded over Lee's Summit, and this was on Halloween, the 31st. One extremely large circular disc-like main ship, bright pulsating lights of all colors and white, small red, orb-like shape, ejected towards the end, which stayed behind, hovered for many minutes, then shot off after the large craft. I was in the car with my daughter-in-law and two small grandsons while trick-or-treating last night. We were stopped at a light at a busy street when I noticed a huge circular object moving right toward us from the north. It had pulsating and blinking multicolored lights as well as extremely bright white lights. It came very close and hovered over all the cars and buildings. Those several light changes everyone saw just sat there, then slowly began to move towards the southwest in an arcing path. When we first saw it, it was as if it was approaching us, its bottom facing us, as if on a vertical orientation. As it retreated, it turned flat or horizontal, at times moving very slowly, then accelerating very quickly. It would completely disappear from time to time. We followed it, both of us taking turns videotaking it with our phones. At times, acted like it was playing a game with us, hiding, then appearing very close so we could see the details, including the dome-like appendages on the bottom side. Then it would speed off, eventually making a complete circle over the area and winding up, hovering over the neighborhood where we had originally been headed. It disappeared again as we got out of the car to tell our friends, and many of the people in the neighborhood came running asking if we saw it too. It returned from low on northern horizon, hovered directly over us at times, turning on its end as before, and at other times performing all sorts of movements that seemed to defy regular laws of physics. Someone said the news was saying it was a group of 7 precision flight small plane operators performing a flyby over a football stadium. But we saw this very closely, and it was not a group of small planes. It was completely circular, and everything moved as one without fail. It made very little noise, a pleasant, low, oscillating hum that I never heard before, no anyone else had. Definitely the sound of the plane, not a sound of a plane or helicopter I ever heard. So, these sightings are occurring. More and more people are seeing them. It's not just something that is a random event. I mean, you're hearing the reports every day that I'm reading here, and there's large groups of people. You know, disclosure is probably not going to happen from the government. The governments, they don't like to be honest with folks. So most likely, the disclosure is going to come from the creatures, beings themselves, the ships. They're showing themselves more and more so people get aware of their presence. Now what's important is to see these different sightings and kind of take into account, is this an actual sighting of a craft from another world, or is this some sort of military experimental craft? Because those definitely are out there. Now, the next sighting here comes to us from the Herald Online. It's a UFO sighting reported in Clover on Halloween. Jonathan and Kathy Engel are regular people. They do not live in a desert and seek out Martians through telepathy or interplanetary cell phone calls, assuming there is a cell service in outer space. Jonathan Engel works maintenance in a department store. On Tuesday afternoon, he had a doctor's appointment. He went to the doctor, not a mystic or faith healer. He's solid. I know what I saw in the sky last night, Engel said, pointing northwest from his porch on Tuesday, the day after Halloween, when people dress up in masks and costumes to try to scare each other. He paused, lit a cigarette. That was no plane. I'm not trying to scare anybody, and now I've seen it twice. What Jonathan and Kathy Engel believe they saw, because neither one has explanation, is simple. Had to be a UFO, said Jonathan Engel. His wife, who has lived in Clover for 15 years and in New York before that, a lady with years in the area, said it sure wasn't any Chinese lantern or fireworks or anything else. What else could it be? UFO is short for unidentified flying object. People who report such things are often heard on all-night radio shows or seen assembling at conferences where people might wear hats with transmitters on them. Jonathan and Kathy Engel were well aware of this, but the Engels said they know what they saw. Others, neighbors who don't want to be identified, claim they have seen the lights too. Alright, and here's the image, and this is what we got. Nice little bright light there. Alright, and our final report for today comes to us from UFO Digest. It's asking the question, alien ET UFO community, is belief in the existence of alien civilizations a religion? This is submitted by Teresa J. Thur. I'm guessing there's a little more to that name right there because there's the ... Let's see. There you go. Thurman Morris. Teresa Thurman Morris. Okay. The article goes on to say that the alien ET UFO community is undergoing communications expansions in what we now call social networks in cyberspace. The alien ET UFO community has been growing, with many people creating their blogs and websites across the net in cyberspace. Does this mean we are changing the way we believe? Does this mean that we who believe alien civilizations exist are creating a new religion? Those of us who are spiritual beings do not necessarily formally share a religion. This is a wonderful time to be alive for those who are social entrepreneurs, and I consider myself one. I'm an author, creator, and an entrepreneur. Those three titles I have earned on this planet, thank you very much. I share some of the deepest parts of me as a paranormal writer. This also hinges on my spiritual belief system in Ascension Center Enlightenment, based on the fact that alien civilizations exist. Is this a religion that is new on Earth? No, but some tend to think so. We have many stories on Earth, including the ones that our greatest world religions are based upon. We are all now learning about ancient folklore and sharing our legends and myths as ancient history. Alright, now you can see there's a long article here, but it's a good question to ask because there are a lot of those out there who want to paint UFO believers as kooks. But why is it a kook to be able to understand that there is life outside of planet Earth? The kooky thing is to believe that life does not exist anywhere else except here. There used to be a time when we thought the Earth was flat. Then they found out otherwise. To think that life here on planet Earth is all there is, that's not right at all. There's beings all over this universe. You just need to pay attention and you'll be able to see them. They show up in their ships from time to time. Sometimes you have the military out there doing their flybys and their experimental craft. But trust me, the ships are out there. There are benevolent beings out there that are part of the process of change that we are going through. So, if you believe in the phenomena of UFOs, you're not alone, because there is a lot of people in the world that truly believe in that, and there are a lot of beings here on this planet right now, whether you believe it or not, that are actually from other worlds. You might be one of them. So, the best thing to do is just to learn. Keep learning more and more. Learn about who you are, where you are from. If you're not from here and you feel that there's a connection elsewhere, it's probably because there's some truth to that. The more you explore, the more you're going to find out and know about yourself. And that's what this process of change is that we are all going through. Learning about who we are. Know thyself. Very important phrase. It goes back a long, long time. I'll be right back.
You know that more people get news and information now from alternative media like First Contact with Joshua Poet. It's now becoming a legitimate form of news and information, and that's important. And Joshua Poet takes it very seriously, and every one of these stories is heavily researched before it goes out there, so that it's guaranteed to have nothing but the truth.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. All right, let's see. Let's check our solar weather, our space weather, for today. We've got solar wind is only at 376.4 kilometers per second, so it's slowed down a bit from yesterday. And if you remember, our planetary K-index was at a 5 the other day. We have dropped down a little bit. We're now only at a 4. It's not completely settled, and as you see here, there is a 60% chance of an M-class flare today. Very small chance, 0.5% chance that there actually is going to be an X-class flare, but possibility of an M-class flare is pretty good. And of course, geomagnetic storm activity, very low itself, 10%, 5%. And we are getting closer to the date here, November 8th. 6 days from now, 2005 YU55 is going to pass by. So we'll all want to pay attention to that, and it'll be curious to see what kind of stories we hear that NASA is going to tell. It's going to be curious to know what this big announcement is going to be on the 9th when the emergency broadcast system here in the United States is taken over and an announcement is made. What are they going to say? I don't know. But well, I guess we'll all find out together. Tune in. It's at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's on the 9th. Now, our next bit of information here is about Fukushima. And Fukushima is having another meltdown. Now, we've tried to keep you informed about what's going on out there. Let's continue that process right now.
Hey everybody, Dutch Sense here. It is 3:20 a.m. Central Time on Wednesday, November 2nd, 2011. And I'm here on the Japan Atomic Industrial Forum Incorporated's website, the JAIF, and since the Fukushima meltdown, they've been issuing reports and alerts literally every day or multiple times per day. And this was just released today, the Earthquake Report 253. I went ahead and opened it up, and it's containing not good information, unfortunately. Xenon has been detected in reactor number 2. Xenon suggests possible nuclear fission, which basically means meltdown is occurring in reactor number 2 at Fukushima. Now, I've been covering this for a long time. People, if you want to go back in my videos, I drove across the United States taking baseline measurements so we can see what the levels are and measure those in the future to see if there's any change. Also, I have a litany of links. Let me go ahead and open these up here. I've got a few that you should really see right now. Black Cat Systems is one. It's a series of Geiger counters. People that have purchased Geiger counters hook them up across the world, and they hook them up USB on their computer, and you can see what the readouts are inside the homes, businesses, wherever these are located. Now, on this particular site, alert level is 28 microsieverts, I think, or is it millisieverts? They have the range listed right here, and of course, if you see it go above 28, that's something you're going to basically want to keep an eye on, see if it elevates or decreases. Also, I have a link to another site. Let me go ahead and pull that. It's Radiation Network. And it's basically the same thing, but it does it in a counts per minute basis. They consider anything over 100 an alert level. So you can watch the map here. They also have a few other spots here, so you can click on Japan. They have a few in Japan, a few in Alaska and Hawaii, Europe. Not too many in Europe. But also, what I like about this map is it shows you in the U.S. where all the nuclear reactors are laid out. And I don't know if it shows it globally. Let's see. Yes, it also has them marked in Japan. And let's see if they have them in South America. A few in South America as well. All right. Well, just definitely watch these links. Keep an eye on the situation. But unfortunately, this is not good news, first of all, for the people of Japan, and second of all, for the people of the world. It's another reactor that's melting down. Confirmed. So hang in there, folks. If you get any other links or if you see this reported in the mainstream news, please definitely let me know or post the link down below in the comments field.
All right, it's going to be curious to see if the mainstream news decides to even cover this at all. Can you remember the last time, if you're watching any of the mainstream, that they talked about Fukushima? They just kind of ignore it. It happened a long time ago, and they don't really even bring it up anymore. But they're continuing to have meltdowns, and people out there, their situation is pretty dire. If you remember some of the reports, they're actually talking about closing down Tokyo. That it could be in an area where there is no one living there anymore. Now, last story before we get on to the interview. This is from mercurynews.com. You heard about the protests going on in Oakland. You heard about Scott Olson that was shot. Well, that really irritated a lot of individuals, so things are going to go to the next level. It was the calm before the storm early Tuesday morning at the Occupy Oakland tent city, the day of a planned general strike expected to draw thousands to the city's downtown. Just before daybreak, occupants of the encampment were starting to rise, and half a dozen news agencies had already gathered. Today's planned strike will be the first of its kind in Oakland since 1946, and it could potentially turn out to be the biggest demonstration in the East Bay since the Vietnam War. The demonstration aims to shut down the city by targeting banks, corporations, and the Port of Oakland in solidarity with worldwide Occupy movement that decries the economic wealth of the very rich 1%, while 99% of the population struggles to find jobs and pay the bills. And there is the Oakland twist of today's action, with a call to end police attacks on our communities and defend Oakland schools and libraries against budget cuts. Oakland Mayor Jean Quan issued a statement Tuesday saying she hopes the general strike is peaceful and puts the issues of the 99% front and center. I'm working with the police chief to make sure that the pro-99% activists whose cause I support will have the freedom to get their message across without the conflict that marred last week's events, Quan said. Police fired tear gas, beanbag rounds, and other non-lethal projectiles into a crowd of hundreds of protesters after orders to clear the intersection of 14th and Broadway. Several people were hit, and former Marine Scott Olson was struck in the head and suffered a skull fracture. Lark Umara, a UK Berkeley student who was camped out at Occupy Oakland Tuesday night, said the vast majority of people who are coming Wednesday are non-violent, but acknowledge there are elements that will agitate. People can police each other's behavior. There is no official position within Occupy Oakland on violence. We don't want the general strike to turn into anarchy, she said. You can see there's much more to the article. Be safe out there with what's going on. Now, here is one thing certainly to consider. The police like to go out and they like to provoke you into starting problems. Police provocateurs, agent provocateurs. Believe it or not, the governments actually send out individuals to pretend that they are part of the crowd that is protesting to cause trouble. It seems really ludicrous that they would do that, but they actually do. And they've been caught in all of these different cities around the country during all of these protests, not only in this country but around the world. So pay attention to what's going on out there. See what the news has to say about this. Just, as a little test, see what the mainstream is going to say. And then after they give their reports, double check online and see what the information is. You'll find that if there's problems going on, more likely it's an agent provocateur that is causing the problems and inciting the fighting. So this should be pretty interesting. A big strike going on, a general strike in Oakland, and it's probably going to spread around the country because there are a lot of people in solidarity about what is going on. What happened with the police in Oakland and the shooting of Scott Olson was wrong. Police brutality is out of control in this country and around the world. It's not the right way to go. It's happening. It hasn't stopped since the event last week in Oakland with Scott Olson. It's got to stop. Police need to stop. They need to point out the bad apples in their organization, because I don't believe, and I know a lot of other people don't believe, that the police are a bad agency. There's just bad apples in there giving a bad name to the agency. So it's time for the bad apples to be out. remove the power, put in jail, and good needs to start to come to the surface. So let's put our hopes and prayers out there for the people who are out there in the streets today, that this goes peacefully and it actually gets the point across of what they are trying to accomplish. All right? Now, yesterday, we played part 1 of an interview with Norio Hayakawa. Today I'm going to play part 2. So, without any further ado, let's get to it.
And according to the information provided by the colonel, the Dulce base has 3 sections. As I mentioned to you a while ago, the first section is the northeastern portion of Archuleta Mesa, right a few miles from the County Road 375 that goes around the mesa on the eastern slopes.
Okay.
The next facility, the main one, is under the Archuleta Mountain, which is located on the western part of the entire Archuleta Mesa. And the third and the latest facility of Dulce is located right next to the ground zero of the 1967 atomic explosion. And this is called the Project Gas Buggy area. And if you go to this remote area right next to the Hickory Apache reservation, you can find a U.S. government plaque indicating that this was the location of this underground explosion experiment. But according to Anthony Sanchez's book and the interview, the third facility is basically right by the Leandro tank, which is like some kind of a water tank area, right near the ground zero. And this third facility is basically for the dumping of materials that were chemical. And but all these underground complexes are, according to the colonel in California, are all connected underground through some kind of a tunnel system that connects all these 3 locations. The one right near the ground zero area is the farthest. It's about 22 miles southwest of Dulce. But the other 2 facilities, the main facility under the Archuleta Mesa and also the eastern slope of the northeastern slope of the Archuleta Mesa, they are fairly close to each other. But they all 3 are connected underground through this tunnel system. It's a fascinating speculation, but I think there's a lot of circumstantial evidences to point out that this may not just be a wild speculation, because there are too many circumstantial evidences that point, and many of the local residents even seem to believe in this scenario. And this is the reason why Anthony Sanchez recently has been in touch with an influential family in Dulce. This family works for the Games and Fish Department of Dulce, the Hickory Apache Nation, and the father of this family is the manager of Dulce Airport. And I just spoke with this family and indeed confirmed that there have been some strange sightings at the Dulce Airport quite a number of times. In fact, this manager of Dulce Airport did report that he saw a saucer-shaped object hovering by his airport in many occasions during the nighttime. Now, this airport in Dulce is absolutely well-maintained, but you don't see any airplane of any sort most of the time, day or night, but yet it's maintained for, I don't know, I asked him, and he said that anybody can actually land at his airport. But if you go to this airport, even today, you hardly see any aircraft. But he did report to me that he did see a strange flying thing hovering at the end of this runway. And this is just one example. The other example that was just given to Anthony Sanchez by this family is that this year, this person that is an influential person of the Hickory Apache Nation. He works for the Games and Fish Department. And he took a team member of the Phoenix Suns because he became friends with, I think the Phoenix Suns team, a couple of team members. And they were interested in hunting in that area. So he took them to Archuleta Mesa. Lo and behold, he encountered several military personnel, and in one particular military guy with a uniform, pointing a rifle at this group and telling them that this is a restricted area. But this person, the Hickory Apache tribal member, declared that, no, this is not right. This is our area. This belongs to the Hickory Apache Nation, and you have no business of being here. After some kind of arguments, he decided to leave that area. And he related this incident to Anthony Sanchez just about 10 days ago. This whole family will be present tomorrow, Sunday, October the 30th, in Taos, New Mexico, where Anthony Sanchez will be revealing this latest information about Dulce in a conference that has been going on for the past 5 days. He will be speaking and revealing what he has found. By the way, Jesse Ventura and his staff were just up 10 days ago also. They were in Dulce, New Mexico, trying to film a segment for next year's conspiracy theory program. But Jesse Ventura and his staff were denied permission to go to Archuleta Mesa. And so they weren't filming in Dulce, but they began to film right next to Dulce in a town called Lumberton, right near the County Road 357. But anyway, the Hickory Apache Nation did not give Jesse Ventura and his staff permission to go atop the Archuleta Mesa. Now, it was Anthony Sanchez, a friend of mine, that went to this place on last Monday, and he was given permission by the Director of Public Relations in Dulce because he knew this influential family, and the the relations person gave Anthony Sanchez and his one or two, I think he was accompanied by two persons, and also the guy from the Games and Fish Department of Dulce. They were all given permission to go atop the Archuleta Mesa and given free permission to film anything there. And so Anthony Sanchez told me less than a week ago that he did film some interesting item on top of the mesa near the communications tower area of the Archuleta Mesa that everybody has seen in pictures. But anyway, he went to the area right next to the communications tower, and he noticed a very huge metallic, heavy, like a cylindrical structure, and it said U.S. government, a property of U.S. government, and it was a black, heavy, some kind of a cylindrical object the size of a regular car, an automobile. He had two of them, and he took pictures of this very interesting thing, and he will present these pictures tomorrow at the Taos conference. There will also be this family from Dulce present to give support to Anthony Sanchez.
That's quite fascinating.
So this is all fascinating. The very fact that the Dulce Hickory Apache Nation did not give permission to Jesse Ventura, but yet gave permission to Anthony Sanchez simply because Anthony Sanchez had established a good connection with this family in Dulce. And the same goes with me. I met with this family in Albuquerque last month. They're very very kind to us. In fact, Anthony Sanchez on Monday, this past Monday, gave the Director of Public Relations in Dulce the first copy of his book, his signed book. And apparently, I'm not sure if that's what did it or not, but, the Director of Public Relations now has a copy of Anthony Sanchez's book, UFO Highway. And, but this is all fascinating. Now, the other fascinating thing is this family is related to police chief of the Taos Pueblo. And so they also have a very good connection, and it was Gabe Valdez who actually had a good relation with this police chief of Taos Pueblo. And the police chief of Taos Pueblo had connections with the Dulce because he was part of the family of this Dulce family, because they were related. And so this police chief of the Taos native, American area in Taos, is now getting to know the Anthony Sanchez, and so I think this all points to the fact that the people in Dulce is now opening up little by little to outside the population, outside of Dulce, and are not afraid, as before, to reveal their experiences in the Dulce area. This is just an absolute amazing development, and this is why in the beginning of this show I told you that I'm really getting excited about the recent developments. There's no question in my mind that the entire Dulce, New Mexico area may hold a very important key to maybe possibly future events that could affect us in the United States. It's my conclusion that the programs going on right now next to Area 51 in Nevada, and also programs going on in the Dulce area may have a commonality. In fact, there are some indications that, they could be connected symbolically and maybe even physically. I don't know. I don't know about the veracity of the underground systems, physical underground systems joining the Dulce facility and Los Alamos in New Mexico and Denver International Airport and Area 51 in Nevada and the Dugway Proving Grounds in Utah. You hear of these rumors, but I don't know about the concrete evidence for this, but I believe that symbolically they are related. In fact, I have told people that, yes, just last year, the governor of Nevada declared that Nevada Test Site changed its name to Nevada National Security Site. Nevada National Security Site is the official name of Nevada Test Site. The Nevada Test Site, right next to Area 51, no longer exists, and it's now called N2S2. In other words, Nevada National Security Site. So it's called N2S2, and now this entire site right next to Area 51 is open to the free use by defense contractors to conduct various experiments in military weapon systems in the name of anti-terrorism legislation. They have opened up Nevada Test Site, changed its name, and now they are going on with experiments that is very similar to the testing of major military technology of Area 51. In other words, Area 51 may be expanding west towards the Nevada National Security Site because the programs and the intention is the same. The alleged excuse under the anti-terrorism legislation that the U.S. can now conduct weapons against anti-terrorism, and now some of the programs that are going on in Area 51 are now possibly being moved towards the Nevada test site right next door. In fact, west of Area 51 is part of the national security site now. So all these things that are happening, the black projects in the United States, in areas like Area 51 in Nevada, Dugway Proving Grounds in Utah, and New Mexico. In fact, New Mexico has the most number of black projects programs right now. You have the National Laboratory in Los Alamos, which is only about 65 miles, from Dulce, New Mexico. Los Alamos is the world's leading-edge research facility for human genome project, or DNA research. They are very much into the latest technology of, that relates to biological experiments as well. Biological warfare. This is all related.
And just
human genome project.
And in the last couple of months, we did reports there was with the nuclear leakages going on out of there.
Well, that is another possibility. So there has been cover-ups of all kinds. As I mentioned to you, if you look at New Mexico, if you go to the southern New Mexico area, you have the expansive White Sands Missile Range, where today the most advanced testing of directed energy weapon systems are being conducted. Microwave weapon system, laser systems, these are all being conducted at the southern portion of White Sands Missile Range, right north of Holloman Air Force Base, White Sands Missile Range. Now, it's very important that in 1945, the United States government brought in hundreds and hundreds of former German scientists and engineers from Germany immediately after the conclusion of World War II. In 1945, hundreds came over to Albuquerque's Kirtland Army Air Base. At that time, it was Army Air Base. Kirtland now, it's a Kirtland Air Force Base. But in 1945, these hundreds of engineers arrived in Albuquerque from Ohio, from Wright-Patterson Army Field. They were transferred from Wright-Patterson Army Airfield and were moved to Kirtland Army Air Base, and then many of these scientists and engineers were transferred to White Sands area, and then some of the scientists and the engineers were transferred to Los Alamos. So these engineers and scientists brought with them the knowledge of exotic technologies that they were working on already in 1942 and 1943 in Germany. And it's a fact that from 1945, and in 1945, 1946, and 1947, many of these programs took place in White Sands Missile Ranges. And there's no doubt that prototypes of exotic flying wing aircraft that they had apparently brought in were tested in the White Sands Missile Ranges already in 1945. In fact, there's a report that in 1945, some residents of a small town, small village called San Antonio, New Mexico, just southeast of Socorro, New Mexico, they reported a crash of a delta-shaped, a crescent-shaped object outside of San Antonio, New Mexico in 1945. Now, this is just one example of the reality that the New Mexico was a hotbed of the German scientists and engineers that were exchanging information with the U.S. military and were conducting joint tests of prototypes of exotic aircraft and exotic weapon systems. Now, the reason I'm saying all this is it's all related. Did you know that Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico at the southern end of White Sands Missile Range has always had a very, very cordial, close relationship with the German Air Force?
I didn't know that.
Yes. In fact, a large contingency of German Air Force personnel has always been at Holloman Air Force Base. In fact, there have been, it's a training area that has welcomed the German Air Force for many, many years. I'm sure that is the same scenario today. So what important factor is that New Mexico did have a large contingency of German engineers and scientists, former Nazi German scientists. And then also, Wright-Patterson Army Airfield also began to have these former German scientists right there in Wright-Patterson. So there was a definite working relation between the German scientists that were present in New Mexico and the German scientists that were present in Wright-Patterson Army Airfield already in 1945. So whatever experiments that they were conducting in New Mexico, in White Sands, did have a definite relation with Wright-Patterson Army Airfield in Ohio already, in 1945, 1947. But what's more important, Josh, is the fact that not only the German scientists and engineers came to New Mexico in 1945 through Operation Paperclip, not only were there German scientists and engineers, but a small percentage of them were former Nazi SS intelligence officers. Now, the German SS intelligence officers, some of them were brought together with the German scientists and engineers in this program called Operation Paperclip, which today is still classified. The leaks have been coming since many years ago, but this whole program of Operation Paperclip still is a classified information that even though many people have succeeded in unraveling part of the documents about the Operation Paperclip. So this is why we know about Operation Paperclip through some parts of this covered up classified documents. But the vast bulk of the documents concerning Operation Paperclip is still classified even today. And it's a fact, Josh, that in 1947, when the Central Intelligence Agency was created, it was, of course, successor organization to Office of Strategic Services, OSS. But in 1947, the establishment of CIA was very much influenced by the former SS officers of Germany. The German Nazi, SS intelligence group had a very skillful techniques of intelligence gathering and intelligence dissemination. In other words, they were experts in disinformation and also manipulation of information and creation of misinformation. Now, in other words, they were experts in all these techniques that are vital to the intelligence community. And this is the reason why in 1947, the United States, through the influence of the former German intelligence officers, began to establish the CIA in 1947, the very same year that the United States established the National Security Act, which later became the NSA. So both the CIA and NSA in the United States came into existence in 1947, which was the very same year that a strange incident apparently took place outside of Roswell, New Mexico. We don't know for sure what took place outside of Roswell, New Mexico, but there's growing circumstantial evidences that it was a cover-up to conceal some kind of a military testing and did not involve any aliens. But there's a lot of information coming now that indeed the Operation Paperclip program was one of the most important programs that the United States created, thus bringing, after World War II, the German know-how of exotic technologies, rocketry, and also the prototype flying wing aircraft that the United States succeeded in getting. Like I said, because of the influx of former Nazi scientists and engineers in New Mexico, New Mexico became the central focus of the U.S. military's beginning of the so-called Black Projects program, and some of the Black Projects program became a white program. In other words, when we talk about NASA, NASA is not covertly a black operation. It's a white program for the public. But there's no doubt that NASA has deep black projects programs are heavily involved, in NASA programs. And in 1993, I corresponded with a Canadian investigative journalist by the name of Serge Monast. Okay. Now, Serge Monast came out in 1993 that the NASA had a secretive program called Project Bluebeam that he uncovered from his sources, and he investigated through his sources the validity of such a secret plan that NASA had in the future, and namely one program called the Operation Blue Beam. And Serge Monast divulged his information to a few researchers in 1993 and 1994, and thus the idea of Project Blue Beam, the various technologies that will be utilized to create a psychological operations program worldwide that could alter the world's, socio-religious concept, that could completely overturn this kind of a thing through the Project Blue Beam programs, which involves one of the many projects of Project Blue Beam, which is basically not different from the Tesla technologies that we hear about. But the Operation Blue Beam projects involve the use and alteration of the ionosphere, and to be able to create like a screen in the ionosphere to be able to bounce back frequency waves and magnetic waves for various reasons. One of the reasons is to detect the locations of underground complexes worldwide through the calibration that is acquired through the bouncing of these electromagnetic waves in the ionosphere. The second item is to create local so-called screens in the sky by creating some kind of a cloud formation so that holographic images can be projected from even a satellite. For what reason, nobody knows. But what I'm saying is that we hear of this Project Blue Beam. Now, did it start in 1993? No. I doubt it, because as I mentioned in the beginning of this program, Sandia Laboratories in Albuquerque had already conducted experiments about holographic projection devices, and this is the reason why Gabe Valdez, the late New Mexico State Highway Patrol officer in charge of Dulce area, told me that he is certain that he witnessed some kind of a miniature scale Project Blue Beam in the Dulce area when he was an active officer in charge of Dulce in the late 70s and through the 80s. He encountered and he witnessed what appeared to be some kind of a projection device being beamed on a cloud from somewhere near Dulce. And it was an image of a flying saucer. And he even encountered military personnel creating some kind of a prop props like small structures or small what appear to be like vents, like a small 10 by 10 hut, but hastily created by the military to stage some kind of a localized, alien type of a scenario over the Alcalá Mesa and the nearby areas. No, so what I'm talking about is there is a connection between the Project Bluebeam, the experiments, possibly, in Dulce in the late 70s and early 80s, witnessed by the Dave Valdez and others. These all seem to be related somehow, and so this is why I proposed 2 years ago in a YouTube version my hypothesis that the Dulce area may have been an initial miniature-level experimentation in the Project Bluebeam for some kind of a psychological operations item. Now, does this mean that there are no unknown entities present in the Dulce area, and there's no evidence to prove against it, and there's no evidence to prove that they are there? So everything is still open. So anything is possible. I wouldn't be surprised if indeed there have been or are still unknown entities working in covert governmental laboratories beneath Dulce. I wouldn't discount any possibility, because anything is possible. Because we don't know for sure, even today, what physical reality and what realities are there besides physical reality. Not everything that we see or we don't see is real. We don't even know what reality is. In fact, scientists are just finding out that there are many, many levels of reality. So this is such a fascinating topic. This is why, even though I have investigated the so-called UFO phenomenon for more than 50 years, in fact, I started in 1961.
Okay.
So I've been involved with the UFO research for 50 years, and I have no doubt that the phenomenon is real. Just like Jack Valet and the late John A. Keel, these two individuals are, according to my estimation, they really have the key of understanding of this phenomenon. And the fact is that the phenomenon is real and has been existing from time immemorial, but we still don't know what this mysterious UFO phenomenon is. Actually, it could, we cannot come to the hasty conclusion that the UFOs and aliens are the same. In fact, there's no conclusive evidence that we have ever been visited by physical alien entities in physical spacecraft. We don't have any conclusive evidence, but there's circumstantial evidence pointing out that there could be some kind of intelligence that we don't know about, that we cannot see physically, but are there, that has been interacting with humanity and possibly even conducting certain things jointly with this United States government in some facilities, such as, possibly at Area 51 or Dulce, New Mexico. Who knows? I mean, it's a fascinating thing. Yes, this whole Dulce situation I don't think is just an imagination, and this is the reason why, as the years go, as the months go, I think that we could be witnessing the beginning of something as we go into the end of this year and into next year, namely 2012. I think that possibly some kind of a revelation could take place, maybe individually or collectively, I don't know. But it's my belief that this is not about catastrophic physical thing that could take place next year. But I think first some kind of a paradigm understanding of individuals could take place at the end of next year. That may be the key to future disclosure, not by the U.S. government, but possibly by these unseen entities, which I think is very possible. The disclosure will never come from the United States government or other governments of the world, but from these unknown entities, whether they are physical or the multidimensional, I don't know, but it'll be them that will take the initiative and disclose themselves only after we are changed internally. In other words,
Right.
our understanding on our worldview and our cosmos view is open to the acceptance. I think then that will be the only time when they could reveal themselves. This is my basic belief. But as far as the parallel developments, I mentioned to you that the government or the secretive government, there's no doubt in my mind that there is a covert government that has been attempting to duplicate the technologies that were possibly acquired from these unknown intelligences, but at the same time that there is a phenomena that is going on at the same time that we don't know nothing about. But the government has been and continues to duplicate their technology on a human level. And so this is my mission. My mission is to actually to make the people aware that there's more to everything than just what you can see.
Right.
But the fact is that I'm interested in all of this is because, sadly enough, our hard-earned tax dollars may be used as we speak in these nefarious projects that are hidden from the public. So that is my main point,
Okay.
Josh. And so, as I told you in the beginning, I am very excited because I am going to hear Anthony Sanchez's latest revelation tomorrow in Taos, and as soon as I come back, I will post on my blog site and on Facebook some of the photos that Anthony Sanchez will show tomorrow,
Awesome.
October 30th, so that people will know. I have already showed some interesting pictures on Facebook of pictures of the spheres that were found by some individuals living in Dulce and El Dorado Lake area and Chama area around in New Mexico.
Oh, you have those on Facebook?
Yes,
Picture?
I just posted some of these pictures of these spheres, and these are not clear because Dr. Howard Eliason presented the slide presentation, and the couple that took the video footage of the slide presentation was sitting in the back, so it wasn't a clear photo, but you can see the spheres. I will be getting a clear photo very soon. I'll be getting clear photo very soon, and on Monday, October 31st, I will be posting on Facebook and my blog site some of the images that will be revealed tomorrow, Sunday, October 30th, by Anthony Sanchez at this conference. He will reveal some of the photos and footages that he said he took at the top of Archuleta Mesa on the north side of the communications tower area of Archuleta Mesa. So I am really excited that we are. This is just the latest relevant information concerning what's happening now in Dulce, and it's not a figment of imagination. There are many law enforcement officials living in the Dulce area, former law officials in Dulce, that can testify that yes, there has been some strange things going on in those area.
You certainly have a lot of information, Norio.
Well, I just didn't tell everything that I know because there's a lot. There's a lot that to be shared, but I'm a person that believes in sharing these type of information for the public, in the public domain, because I have nothing to sell. I have no videos to sell, no books to sell. I have only information that is freely to be shared by the public because I'm part of the public and I'm interested in what my hard-earned tax dollars are being used in. So this is my whole point, Josh. So this is why I am very thankful right now, Josh, that you invited me to give my few cents, on your program.
Oh, well, I'm very glad that you did. I mean, this is awesome. And, God bless you for doing all the work that you do because I know how hard it is there, Norio. You just, it's a lot of work and a lot of time and effort, and that's awesome. Thank you very much for being on First Contact Radio.
Yes, thank you so much, Josh, and God bless you.
Bye, Norio.
All right, well, that's quite an interview. I'm telling you, Norio is like a walking encyclopedia. Just an amazing conversation that we had, and if you missed the first part of it, you can go back, and yesterday's show has part number 1, and today's part number 2. All right, so that brings us to, I got to set this up. Strange thing occurred yesterday right after the show. Had a full computer meltdown. All right. But things are back up and running, and we are in business. So,